I ran to be VP Inclusion because I wanted to make the community that embraced me better than I found it. I'm really proud about some of the stuff that I've managed to achieve as VP Inclusion, but I'm especially proud of the gender-based violence work that I've done. I thought when I came into the job that I'd be doing a bunch of LGBT activism because that's the area that I thought that I would be going into when I ran for the position, but very quickly I realised that there was lots of problems with gender-based violence in general in the university sector, but specifically at Strathclyde. I felt a lot of focus on ending gender-based violence, and although it's been really tough, I'm really proud of the progress that's been made. So we've run 2 really great years of 16 Days of Action campaigns. Last year we ran a campaign with students, staff, members of Strath Union. We put together these great open letters against sexism and gender-based violence within the university. Something that I'm especially proud of is our NDA campaign. During the 16 Days of Action this year, we ran a campaign against the use of non-disclosure agreements and for proper reporting pathways when it comes to gender-based and sexual violence. And it spiralled out of what I could have imagined at all, ever. We went into it thinking that we'd run a really cute little campaign for our campus, the end goal being to get rid of non-disclosure agreements in cases of sexual misconduct. And we thought we would maybe get it in the university, but that's as much as we thought we would be able to achieve. That's not what happened. When we ended up running this campaign, we got attention from lots of really, really great charities, including UN Women, who actually run the 16 Days of Action in Europe, and it really spurred me on to continue this campaign and turn it into something even bigger. So where we're at now with that is we currently are putting in place a non-disclosure agreement pledge with Let's Disclose It. This campaign that is blossoming into possibly a campaign group, possibly a charity, and I really, truly, genuinely believe that we'll be able to make not just change at Strathclyde, but possible legislative change across the whole sector to stop NDAs from being used against people in cases of sexual misconduct. During last year's 16 Days of Action, we ran Fight for the Night, to which over 400 people showed up, and it was absolutely amazing. It was great to see people, again, students and staff come along to show up against sexual and gender-based violence. It was really awesome. And I didn't think we'd be able to recreate that in lockdown because, you know, we can't actually physically gather in any spaces. So instead what we did is we had some really cute workshops where we put together placards, and then we were able to post these placards online as if we were having a digital gathering against gender-based and sexual violence. We've managed to get the university to sign up to be one of the first institutions to try out the Emily Test Charter, this really amazing charter to stand up against gender-based and domestic violence. One of the first things that I encountered on the job was seeing the report and support system not work properly, and I was able to do the user testing for the newly renovated report and support. So it's pretty cool to see that come full circle. I've seen accessibility improve massively on campus since I started. I wrote this massive chunky boy piece of work, and from that piece of work we're able to do kind of an accessibility review. Not everything is perfect yet, but we've been able to secure a lot more accessible toilets on campus, do a lot of work on making sure that the mapping is there for accessible routes and accessible toilets, and working on things like achieving really excellent lecture capture and making online resources super accessible for you. One thing that I'm really proud of is working with sports to make sure that we have a women and non-binary only swim session, the first of its kind in Scotland, and I'm really excited to see that it's really well used, and I'm excited to be a student and be able to use that as well. And also have been working massively on decolonising for the university. I've done lots of writing too, and one of the last pieces of work that I've managed to achieve finishing off as your VP Inclusion is putting together the massive sexual health survey, which is 10,000 words long. We've got some really great information from that, and I think that we'll be able to put in place things like a sexual health clinic on campus, making sure that there's proper consent training out there, and I'm also keen to see work done to work with the chaplaincy to make sure that all of our students of faith have access to proper reporting pathways and consent training as well. My crowning achievement as your VP Inclusion has been my work on the Let's Disclose It campaign, which we ran during this year's 16 Days of Action against non-disclosure agreements in cases of sexual misconduct in higher education, because they're only really ever used to intimidate survivors. So we wanted to get rid of them completely. One of the things that I wanted to achieve when I came into the job was making sure that the Liberation Room was renovated so that there was a safe place for liberation groups to gather. Unfortunately, we're leaving the old building and thus the Liberation Room behind, but I'm really thankful because I've also had a chance to leave my mark on the new building as well. One of the things that we asked for in the 16 Letters campaign was naming one of the buildings on campus after someone who wasn't a man, and now we're seeing our students be able to make a choice on what amazing woman to name the new building after. My favourite part of being your VP Inclusion has been working with the people. It's been working with the people at the union and with students, because I truly believe that no matter whether we're in the old building or the new building, people are what make the union at Strathclyde. And I've especially been so lucky because I've got to work with two just amazing teams that have achieved so much, and it's been a pleasure not just to work alongside them, but to see their work grow and blossom. At Strathclyde won't see the last of me. I'll still be about the union as part of the Poetry Society, like I was before this job. So I'm very excited to see it all happen from the students' perspective again.